Love, that ever-flowing liquid fire of light, ever-expanding and illuminating truth, which is always revealed with wisdom, a spiritual nutrient necessary for vitality that is maintained through selflessness, a filter of ether that aids purity, which is love. Love, a limitless paper lantern floating into infinity on the intentions and actions of initiates of the mysteries.
All right, welcome everybody, and welcome Erica. We have a special guest with us, which her name is Erica. Like I just said, this is like the awkwardest intro ever.
That's all right. Hi, I'm Erica.
Thanks, Erica. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you, Ross. How are you?
I'm very charged up because I'm semi-delirious from lack of sleep. So good.
It's always good.
Yeah,
it's a little pleasant. Charged up, but not for the same reason.
Okay, so we're gonna try this new format that we had talked about. We got these cards shuffled, and I'm gonna draw some tarot cards for you. You're gonna kind of say what your interpretation of it is, and maybe share about how that relates to your personal life, or like get a topic from it and kind of discuss it. And then if I have anything to chime in, I'll discuss it, and we'll just go from there. We'll let it be organic. See what happens.
Okay.
So your first card is the Hermit.
That's really funny.
Okay, so what do you get from that?
Can you hold that card up while I
totally can?
Because it's helpful to like look at it.
Oh, I agree.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's holding this light in his right hand. Showing the way, standing on solid ground. He's looking down, and I don't know what. Oh, not really looking out to the path that's being lit. You know, maybe not seeing the whole picture. Yeah, and wisdom.
Mm-hmm. That's always what I get from that one too, kind of like the light in the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ways I always look at this card too, this is just for me personally, it always seems like he's looking back on his life or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's reversed in this image, but he's always facing this way, which for whatever reason, the left always seems like like past, I guess. I don't know that that's true.
I see the left as past as well. Or if we think about it like magnetically, the left being negative and the right being positive. So especially with tarot, when I look at anything in the right hand, that's like the positive path or the service to others path. And that's the hand he's holding, that light, that light within. The robe is significant too. I think it's like another wisdom symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Along with the beard, obviously he's old.
Yeah, he's into modern culture too, rocking the beard.
But there's something about that staff in the left, maybe that how the material world, the illusion of the material world can look so solid, appear to be so solid, and how that can maybe distract us from seeing the true light within. This is fun, Ross.
I like hearing somebody else's interpretation of it, because
I've never done it like this, like talking to somebody at the same time. And so more comes out, I feel like, than it would have if I was just sitting here staring at it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of nice to have somebody to bounce it back off of. See, like you bringing up the staff that way gave me like an alternative outlook on it, which is almost completely opposite. Like I kind of view it like the staff is like using the material to help propel you forward in some ways, but not in like a materialistic sense, because it's so stripped and bare bones as to what it is. Like there ain't it's not bedazzled or not or nothing. It's just like straight,
like a
sturdy
grounding.
Yeah. I think it could go both ways though too. I think that both of them are valid, because it could be blocking out the light depending upon if your focus is on the material or if you're using it as a way to propel you forward, really, or like keep your balance.
Yeah.
Now, oh no, go ahead.
No, it just looks, for me, it looks like like that's where his gaze is.
Mm.
Down, looking at that side, the left side.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now my question is going to be, what kind of topic, real world topic, can you pull from this?
Jeez, well, I'm like the quintessential hermit. I love being, in my little like alone space. To do just that, like try to, find that light within. I think it's a process that is a practice every day. And so for me, it's a reminder of that seeking journey.
Yeah, I can really relate to that as well. Personally, I mean, I've always kind of been a loner. I've never been one of those people that has a large group of friends. Maybe in high school I did, but none of them really knew me. I was alone in a room full of people, regardless of if they knew me or not, really, because I was always isolated internally. And it's like, for me, I spend a lot of time looking back and, like you said, kind of consciously every day self-evaluating and looking internally, because for me, I like have to keep clearing that browsing history in my mind of like everything that I've been through, cleared of resentments, of fears, of all that kind of stuff, or like be at a different place with it. I've been using that insight timer app for like 60 some days. So I've meditated and like done, I should just say meditated, because I've done meditation, Tai Chi, or yoga almost every day. Some more recently, all three pretty much every day.
Good. That's great.
And I just feel so clear with stuff. But one of the things I've noticed is as I clear away certain things, different areas that I have to work on come up in that like isolated space. And it's so weird because it's like there's like these secret rooms in my head, and I'm like, I like accidentally pull the book, and then like this door opens up and all these cobwebs.
In my
like,
house, there are many mansions.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is that like a quote you've read, or is that something?
Oh, that's
said?
like Jesus, and yeah. I mean, a lot of people talk about this. Carl Jung, I think, Edgar Casey maybe had said something about it too. Yeah. That's the concept. It's like, yes, within this vast complex of the mind, there are many rooms, there are many houses. You have one ultimately, right? But there's so many different aspects to it, and peeling away those layers of the onion, there's always going to be something new, right?
Yeah.
Until we go back to Creator. So there will always be another layer.
I can't believe that. Like, I didn't know that. Did you come up with that? You're like, no, it's like Jesus. Probably like the most quoted, one of the most quoted people ever.
I think it was Jesus. Jeez, I don't know. That's fine. Many people talk about the mansions,
It just shows you how like isolated I am. I never heard that once in my. Maybe I did and I forgot too. Might be in one of the back storage rooms in one of the mansions.
There's many things out there people say, and I'm like, never heard it, and I get this response like, what? So you're not alone. We're not alone. We're not alone. Back to
then we can't be hermits.
Right. We really need to be out. It's really important. Those of us who do feel alone, many of us are on this seeking journey, which is, we kind of came to feel alone. So we remember that we're not alone. And a lot of us that are sensitive to the energies, like that's what kind of keeps us being a hermit, keeps me being a hermit. It's hard to be out there being an empath. But our job here is to actually be here spreading this good energy. So being a hermit does the world no good.
Yeah.
You have to get out and you have to be a part of it all.
No, I definitely relate.
Yeah.
In my day-to-day life, like I'm out around people a lot, and like as opposed to where I was last year, where I really only hung out with one friend and my family, exponentially around more people. One of the things that I have to remember though is that I still need that alone time. It's like I need to have a balance of both.
Of course.
and learning to be comfortable alone, and then also learning to be comfortable in a group, then learning to be comfortable in both those situations can be freaking tricky, I would say.
Yeah, balance is tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, I really am fascinated.
It's pretty tricky.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I definitely think it's like a yin yang clock in some ways. Like, my therapist and I were talking about this. As soon as you'll hit the balance in one thing and you're about to swing out the other way. And maybe like over time that pendulum gradually slows down. But I kind of think there's always going to be something to throw it out of whack, because balance is an unnatural state in lots of ways. Maybe for people, I should say.
I think it's the most natural state. Well, yes, for human beings, probably. Right?
Yeah, I should definitely add that caveat for people.
Yeah, and the nature of creation. No, I think that's its nature. I mean, we live in a dualistic world, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So our polarities are what make us.
Yeah, that was one of the things that really upset me, like being diagnosed bipolar, which they later on changed that, and then having my astrological symbol be Pisces. I'm like, fuck, I am stuck to both extremes. Like, always going to be one way or another. Like, how am I supposed to find balance?
No, it's two sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I told my therapist today I just have to let both fish swim till they're tired and they'll float down the river together.
There you go. They find their balance.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. I think we covered that. I have one question to ask you though before we move on to the next card. Have you ever heard of anything where it's like astral projection but inversed? I've been meditating on something like that. Like astral inspection. So you know how like an astral projection, you like kind of picture your, like a body floating out of your body into the universe or whatever. I did this one meditation that I've never heard anybody say anything about it, but like I pictured diving in, like being on my forehead and then diving into my consciousness and it being like a universe inside of me. And like exploring that.
Yes, I have heard of that.
What is that called?
I don't know if it really has a term.
Even cooler.
I mean, I would just call it self-exploration, you know?
Makes sense.
Like as above, so below.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We got to go in. I mean, I think that's more important than astral traveling. Really, we're trying to figure out what's in here.
Yeah, that's what I was like really thinking. I was like, astral projection, like it might be cool in some ways because like I feel that I've had those experiences, but in lots of ways it's counterintuitive because my soul doesn't have the physical form that my body does. So it's just another form of illusion. But by going into the universe inside me, which you don't hear about as often, that seems way more real.
Yeah. And, you know, we come here as souls to be in a body, to have a certain experience. So what are we trying to get out of it for? Like, be in it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to go out of body. I need to go into this and figure out, you know, what the real deal is. Yeah. I mean, I go there every night when we sleep. We just don't always know it.
Yeah.
Our soul's always going there. We don't need to consciously kind of travel that way. It's more important to look within. Yeah.
I think that this is a good card for like the astral inspection or self-exploration too, like in that light.
Yes.
I'm glad I brought that up because I really haven't had a chance to. I talked to my one friend about it, but I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody like within the circle of people that really talk about stuff like that a lot. So it's nice to hear some feedback. All right. Ready for your next card?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there's all that duality.
Right.
This card, you know, I don't do as well with the minor arcana as I do with the major because I don't study the minor. And so I just have to look at it kind of astrologically. I see balance, obviously. The feminine symbol on the left, again, like, so that receptive nature, emotional, receptive nature. And then the swords here are saying the power of love. So Yeah, and it's very calm. It's
Mm-hmm. The way I like interpret the symbolism of this, and some of this is from part of it's from books that I've looked at. So my judgment's a little bit tainted, I would say in some ways. But water is like the emotion thing, like you said. So I
yeah.
definitely get that. And it's calm, like you said. So it's like calm emotions. She's kind of like guarding those calm emotions, but in like a trusting way with the blindfold on. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like
Yeah, I can
even
feel
within
that.
the dark, she's like confident in her ability to be present with that. And it's like kind of turn her back on the calmness, but to defend it in a way. But it's also, it's not negative, I guess. It just kind of is like a position, a space of power to like, it's good. My emotions gonna do what they do. I'm gonna sit here and face the world and not give a shit. I got two swords. Like that's kind of the funny interpretation of it. But
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I also see when, as you were talking about that, the strength and vulnerability.
mm-hmm.
Um, and she's firmly seated there, very balanced on a solid foundation.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
mm-hmm. So, yeah, interesting. That guarded, uh, vulnerable thing. Yeah.
It's good to be both of those things. I mean, it's never good to be too guarded in my experience, but it's never good to be too vulnerable either. I mean, I shouldn't say
Right.
that. I feel like in
There's a
my
balance
experience,
again.
having become very vulnerable, I guess you can be if you're not ready to be that vulnerable. Like if you're just being vulnerable for the sake of being vulnerable, like I'm going to throw all this shit out there and hopefully people will accept it. But if you're not comfortable enough or guarded enough in your own vulnerability, like I'm secure in this, that could really fuck you up. I know it messed me up before.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because it's definitely something I work on is being vulnerable. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of a strong person, like a warrior kind of archetype, and so for me to be vulnerable isn't quite what I'm comfortable with. Um, and so it's something that, like lately, I'm like, it's okay to be vulnerable. I want to be vulnerable. It's all right to be vulnerable sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always have to be strong. And it's interesting that when I first saw the card, I saw the power of love.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where you can be vulnerable, is by knowing that power within you. You know, nothing can really harm you when that power of love within you exists. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that
Yeah.
interpretation a lot. Yeah, because it is like love and trust to know that like she's not seeing what's going on in some ways, but she's totally secure, centered,
Mm-hmm.
grounded, and in that vulnerable space. It's cool how like,
Trusting in it.
yeah,
That's
I
hard
like
to do.
I like how like our the way we see it kind of blends together in like a
Me too.
more holistic, health, like balanced balanced way. Like
Yeah.
so you said that relates to you like being in that warrior spot and like trying to step into the vulnerability. Um
Like embracing my femininity. You know, she's
mm,
a female character too. That's another thing that I first saw was the feminine symbols there. Um,
mm.
being you know, those feminine traits. I'm not saying, you know, traits, just characteristics of the feminine are
Yeah,
more vulnerable, are more receptive, and yeah, I can be more male in my in my character a lot of times, just being so strong.
it's funny because although within the past couple of years I've definitely kind of focused more on feminine attributes, and a large portion of my experience was overemphasizing the negative traits of masculinity or expressing the traits of masculinity in an unhealthy way. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like learning to be vulnerable, and now I'm like learning to incorporate that vulnerability and receptiveness into like a healthy way of like the creative principle or like the driven principle.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still like I struggle with that. I struggle with both of them at times, honestly. um but I found so much strength and vulnerability, and I found so much vulnerability and false strength.
Mm.
Because it's like when I was acting, I shouldn't speak for other people, but when I was acting like in this very high ego state or like better than mentality in lots of ways, it really was coming from a place of insecurity, not good enoughness. And
Always.
it's like the more I expose my vulnerability, it's so counterintuitive, the more invulnerable I become in lots of ways, because I know my weaknesses. I'm putting my weaknesses out there for other people. And if they're like, well, you do this, and it's like, I know, I'm working on it. Like,
It's the power of love again.
yeah, it goes back. Yeah. Another cool way to look at this, and I just thought of this now, we talk about duality. Are you familiar with Kabbalah?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at those as like the two pillars, the third pillar is kind of like the head. So it's like two-sided blades, and then the head kind of rising above the duality.
The oneness. The oneness. Yeah. Got the whole coin.
Mm-hmm. I like that. It's kind of interesting too, because both of the cards you've got so far have like this cool calm collectedness to them, especially in colors like the blues. And they're both looking away from something. Like he's looking away from her, she's looking away from all that stuff.
I'll tell you what's interesting. So let me rephrase that. For many years, I had so many different psychics tell me, you're walking with blinders. You're walking around with blinders on. You're not seeing the full picture. And yeah, it's interesting. Like for it to have that come up again, it's kind of like, really? All right. I guess I'm still not seeing it somehow.
You got a double dose of that too in those cards.
So it's just coming up again for a very good reason. It's good. I like this when things come up again. It's like, okay, obviously some refinement is needed here. So this is
there always is.
Lesson, so this is no surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always something that needs refined. One of the things that's cool about doing like tarot for me is like whenever I do a reading or like interact with somebody with cards, I feel like I learn so much about myself too, because I have to filter all these kind of things through my experience when I do it for somebody else. You probably get the same thing.
Yeah. Well, mirrors, you know. Some
it's
mirrors.
Yeah, it's like I can't. If I do a reading for myself, I have a harder time seeing it than if I do a reading for somebody else.
Oh yeah. It's almost impossible for me to read myself, but I can read others like easy.
Yeah, I'll like embellish shit that I want to see for myself. Well, this means that so-and-so is going to love me forever, and I'm going to win the lottery, and I'm going to eat pizza for my rest of my life and not gain any weight.
Right.
When I read for somebody else, it's like, dude, you have to work on this major shortcoming that's hurting you and everybody around you.
Right. Yeah.
Ready for the next one?
Ready.
Another blue one.
Not surprised.
And another kind of like guarded, defensive.
So annoying when you think you're over something, like when you think you've worked on something quite a bit, you know?
Story of my life.
This is the story. Exactly. That's the point. Like this is everybody's story, you know? This is normal. You think you get somewhere. So yeah, I mean, just like you said, totally guarded. Almost fighting. A lot of effort there. It looks like too, that's like a cliff. Is that like a cliff that he's almost barricading from falling off of? I don't know.
I get it could be a cliff. I could see a hill, but if you see a cliff, we can go with that interpretation. That's one of the things I found too is helpful.
Yeah. I kind of see him like protecting himself from falling off this cliff. It's emotional again. Like, what are you creating? Yeah, interesting. Emotional creation and protection. Yeah.
I want to say that wands, in the one book I have, says wands are relative to fire, and fire is relative to crap. I forget. I think I have the book right here. I'm kind of curious now because I just want to see. I know that swords are air, and air is supposed to be intellect. If water is emotions,
Water's emotions, yeah.
fire is maybe
Wand is the
mind.
mental, the mind.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So it's like that kind of struggle. Is there anything else you want to pull from this before I kind of say how I see it?
Something about just his posturing. Now this is a male image. Well, the first one was a male image too. It's very like aggressive. You know? But maybe it's just the strength again in that building, you know? I mean, to push that wand into its place with all the other ones. It takes some force. But I don't know. I'm not getting it. Tell me what you say.
No, I like your interpretation. I think that you totally did get it. It's just that
really?
I get different things from it. I don't think there's a wrong way to read it.
It's so funny. So I'm like, what do I say?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's right or wrong, really.
Right. There is no right or wrong. It is all about your personal interpretation of
I like hearing other people's way that they look at too, because it helps me flesh out mine more, because I do kind of see the cliff thing there. There's like that space there.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, real quick. Do all the wands have growth on them, flowers?
Yep.
All of the wands have leaves. Yeah?
As far as I know, yeah. I'll have to look at my tarot page.
Okay. I think so, but I've just...
Yeah, okay. I think so as well.
But that's the creation. What are you creating in your mind? What's growing here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is they are kind of in just this defensive point. And I like how you have the element of falling off the cliff, but they're also on the high ground where it's easier to defend high ground. But with the element of falling off the cliff, there's that risk associated with being in that spot. So they have a better defensive position, but they can get more screwed up from being there. Also, like... very vulnerable. Yeah, and it's like all these little things, if you view these as different attacks or different situations that are coming to get them in that position, in that vulnerable spot,
yeah,
it's all different things that are going to cause different forms of growth to branch off, really.
Yeah.
And I like how you said kind of like planting it in some way, but it could also be, this is just me being devil's advocate in some way, him pulling that out of the position of the other ones and pulling those rods out of his way.
Interesting.
Or
like
one.
That too. Yeah, it could be either way.
Yeah, it's really like how you see it, but I do like how you say like planting it too, because in planting it, he's taking this problem, this burden that he's carrying, and kind of fortifying that defense on the high ground more and letting other things grow from it.
I like your way of pulling it out, because I don't know. It's like breaking down the wall a little bit, right? Yeah. And I see something else. He's got two different shoes on. So his left foot has got like a boot, and his right foot's got like a tied shoe, which could way easily fall off.
Yeah.
And the left foot's way more sturdy, being that's a boot. That's not going to fall off. And that's the left. Is that the left foot? Yeah. Interesting.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good interpretation. I like that.
I don't really know what it means, but
I like the way that you put it together, though. No, I like that a lot.
I've never seen that in that before.
I've read it before in something.
It looks like you said that boot standing on like a crack too, or is that just my?
It's like I was looking at that too. It's like a puddle or some mud or something. So maybe that's a stronger position, but you're gonna get dirty if you go that way. Not in the dirty sense of doing dirty things, but it's the more difficult path to be in somewhat. It's more sturdy, but it's a little slippery. That's
why that's the left foot, the left-hand path.
Yeah, right? I like the way
difficult. The service to self path. Yeah.
Yeah, because I want to say that Waite and all them did this after H.P. Blavatsky kind of coined the left-hand path terminology. So.
Yeah, and the right foot being on that cliff edge, it's like, you never really know what's ahead of you. It's almost like take that risk, go this direction, even though it may seem more secure on this other side.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think those are very good insights. And it's almost, again, it goes back to that unification of duality where he's in the middle of both of those, where he didn't necessarily pick a path. He has a foot in each one, so he can kind of determine where he needs to switch to at different times to be better suited.
Right.
Because I really do feel that service to others is really good and helpful, but if you don't do some service for yourself to like benefit you, you can't be of service to others.
Absolutely.
But if you're always at service to you,
put your own air mask on first.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and it's like if you're always in service to yourself, your life is going to be crap in lots of ways. Am I actually
martyrdom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does this relate to you?
All of it does. I mean, it's a pretty good pre-card reading, I'll say. It is interesting. A lot of this is old stuff coming back up for me. That interesting. So hopefully I'll handle it properly this time.
I'm sure you will. I always like putting all the cards together and looking at like holistically as a picture too.
Yeah, that helps. Yeah, because I think it does matter, because that Two of Swords being in the middle, I love it. You can pull her hand, in either direction, swing one way or the other, right?
And she's kind of like, it's weird too looking at it this way, because one side is like the quiet observer looking at things. The other one is like the quiet passive observer. The other one is like the active, kind of violent, very strikingly dressed with two different shoes on dude, like on a hill. Like the other dude's on flat ground. So they're very polar opposite. And going back to like her being in the center, it's weird if you look at it that way, because she's just in the center, calm, placid, tranquil, blind to like both of those things. Just like, I'm just going to be and just be calm, like this water behind me, no matter what. Like,
just walking around with my blinders on. Yeah.
It kind of, the blinder thing, it's true, but it could also be like, I forget if it was a Star Wars, it had to be Star Wars that there's lightsabers, but isn't there like the one blind Jedi who's like a badass with a lightsaber even though he can't see? Is that Star Wars?
Sure. It sounds familiar.
I could just be making it up too. Like sometimes
No.
I get stuff in my head that like isn't real, but I think it is.
No, I think that's from. It could be Kung Fu Panda, but I have no idea. It's from somewhere.
Star Wars, Kung Fu Panda. It's really all the same here. That's like a metaphor for Star Wars in some way. I mean, in a real sense, they're all archetypal stories in some regard, anyhow. So
yeah.
So, do you want to proceed and do the Tao Oracle Quintessence card?
Yeah.
For the triple word score. I'm not very good at math, but I'm going to try to add this up. So 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 9 is 18. Wow, I handled that. Without a calculator. So we have two options. We can just take the 18. This is like the bonus round here on who wants to get their oracle done. So you can go with 18. We can stop there. Or we could look at 18 and then look at the reduced version, or just the reduced version. 3 paths.
Let's do 18.
Okay.
And then the 9.
18 and then the 9. I like the way you think. Okay. I got to find this deck real quick because I want to show you the card. It's interesting too because 9 is the Hermit in Major Arcana Quintessence too. And what would 18 be? 18 would be the moon, I think.
I have no idea.
Pretty sure it's the moon.
I can probably tell you.
So I gotta find 18 and the 9. I like to show these cards because the deck's really pretty. You'll like the 9, I'm pretty sure. When we're done with this too, I'll send you like the full definitions of these cards because they're
18 is the moon.
Okay. The full definitions of these cards are like 4 pages in a book long, so I won't read them to you, but they have like summaries of them. So you want to go with 18 first, and then we'll go with the further reduced one. If you can't read what the card says, I'll tell you too. I guess I have to hold it up so you can actually see it.
Working what has been, what did it say?
Spoiled.
Spoiled. Interesting. Yeah, you read the rest because it's hard to read.
Okay. It says healing, correct past mistakes, make repairs, clean up corruption, restore balance, responsible action. So what do you get from the images within that?
Oh, I love it.
These cards are beautiful.
They are beautiful. I mean, it's the only one I've ever seen so far. But, wow. Okay. There's so much there. Trees to me are like my beingness, our beingness. Like we are a tree. Our mind is a tree. So there's this connectedness, this root connectedness there. And that's like my higher self, that being planting this tree of life. Like, are those like antlers? Like deer antlers right there? Or what is
the white?
That?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I definitely see that. They don't look like tree branches, and they don't fit anything else. So I guess deer antlers would be appropriate.
Yeah, and then the deer is a very spiritual symbol. The deer antler is reminding me of like priestess ceremony. It's like a whole new world. It's like a whole new I don't know, a whole new creation. It can be whatever I want it to be.
Okay, yeah. So like kind of what you're planting in that last card of the Seven of Wands is going to grow into whatever you kind of nurture it and want it to be from all that stuff, really.
And it's totally guided by my higher self. Like, I'm totally protected and I can trust in that. This is magical. Your roots are solid. We're all connected. Yeah, this is a beautiful rainbow of existence. Yeah, and there's more than just your higher self, your ancestors, and wow.
Yeah, totally. I like how there's like that feminine, like mountain spirit kind of tending over it, and how there's like the antlers are above kind of like those black and broken branches and roots or whatever, where it's like that stuff will kind of always rise to the top eventually if it's nurtured properly by the individual, really. Okay, now the reduced version for your final card.
Oh yes, what does it say?
The taming power of the small.
Love it.
And then it says self-restraint, self-sufficiency, careful preparations, resourcefulness, minor impediments, adaptability.
It's funny because the pictures are totally different than the descriptions for me. For me, that spider, that web is like the web of creation. All that life, that fertility. That's creation right there. Like, that's why when I first saw it, I was like, wow, like that's the matrix. Again, I can make this whatever I want it to be. You know, I plant that seed. You know, what seed am I planting? What flower is going to design my matrix? You know.
I like the way that you interpret that. I really like that. I like how there's like that tree symbolism too. It's interesting how after you got the one with the branches, like the wands, you have all these trees kind of coming into it.
Not surprised. I like I said, I feel like I am a tree.
Totally. It's just neat to see how it like syncs up. And I feel like overall these kind of really dial into the other cards. It's really peculiar to me how like I can use two different decks and then use that, like, I want to say it's Pythagorean math numerology or whatever, where you do the quintessence and then it comes up like that. Yeah, I like your interpretation of it.
Well, thanks.
So do you think that that was pretty accurate to where you're at and that it was helpful?
Completely. I love that idea of using those 2 decks too, because it's just kind of a clarification that the universe will always give you the answers and the messages that you need, no matter where you're looking for them. So you can look here, there, and everywhere, Dr. Seuss, and you know, and you'll still get the same answers. And it's really neat how it's literally been the last few days when I'm like, these old issues coming up, very interesting. I thought I dealt with that. Okay, I guess I didn't. I guess. Wow, really? You know, it's that kind of feeling. And so, yeah, thank you. That's very helpful.
Awesome. Thank you for letting me try out this new format. Like, I think it's so fun to kind of do that and like just toss back ideas, because I learn different ways to see it, ways to incorporate stuff into my own understanding. I get something from it because that stuff applies to me too. It's
funny, like the Hermit showing the way, the very first card.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like there's so many ways you can look at like at all those things, but it's like all that stuff ties into me as well.
What number is the Hermit? Is it an
9?
8? It's 9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, you're all good. I can actually send you images of all these cards and then like from my tarot page if you want.
That's okay. I actually have,
okay.
Have that deck.
Did you write down the cards that you got?
No, but I will right now.
Okay.
Hermit, 2 of Swords, and what was it? 8 of Wands?
7 of Wands.
7 of Wands. Well,
I'll send you the 2 Tao Oracle ones if you want.
Yes, that please.
Okay. All right, yeah.
Probably do some more introspection on.
Yeah, there's like 4 pages of stuff, and they actually have like a way to another divination method within these cards. I just haven't learned how to do it. You like cast the coins for these lines that are relative to the I Ching.
Oh, cool.
I just don't know how to do it yet.
These cards just got cooler.
Those cards are awesome. I actually ordered them online from Walmart, and I was like, I don't know how good these Tao cards are going to be. It's an amazing book and amazing cards.
I need a new deck. My I have that waiter deck, and my dog ate them at some point. Well, she just chewed a couple, and it doesn't seem to bother me that much, but I feel like I need a fresh new deck. But I feel like I want to get the same deck, so that's why I'm waiting on it. It's like, I don't know, I'm just kind of old school. I don't really want to branch out.
Yeah, I like that, the Smith Waite deck, and I use the Shaman Tarot deck, which I'll show you a card of that real quick if you want to see. Really pretty. That's actually the first deck I got. I got it when I lived in California, but it was really hard to learn how to read them because these cards are so much more complex, and without having like a basic understanding of the traditional cards or like symbolism or things like that.
I think that's why I like the traditional ones. Like, just learn the basics first, yeah?
Yeah, totally.
Wow.
Let me find another one. There's some really pretty, the mask one.
Yeah.
It's funny how we were talking about mask, I think, before we started recording or something.
Huh. Interesting.
Whoa, I almost dropped him.
Oh, pretty. Oh.
I want to find my favorite one.
The glare, I couldn't quite see it at first. It took me a minute.
Oh, okay. You did get to see it, though?
I love that I just got a dolphin card. I just went on a boat a couple weeks ago with a very good friend of mine and my girls, and we had like hundreds of dolphins surrounding us. It was the most amazing.
Oh, wow. That sounds so awesome.
Oh, it was incredible. They were playing in the boat, you know, so like the boat was going along nice and slow, and they're like doing this in front of it, and so
they're
cute.
Like all excited. They're super smart from what I understand.
So much fun with us. They are. Wow. Ooh. Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, the women in this deck are amazing. Like, all the artwork's cool. A lot of it incorporates like cityscapes into it as well.
I like that. Like, that's like that strong feminine thing we were talking about earlier. That last card, you know, that like embracing of the femininity, the goddess within.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing for me, like talking about femininity today. I talked to my therapist. I've kind of really felt very effeminate for a large portion of my life, especially after the mental health stuff. And it's like something I'm working out of. But like I was thinking about both the receptive and like the creative forces of the yin and yang or whatever. And in regards to like romantic relationships, this might be too personal for some people, but if it gets uncomfortable for you, let me stop. I don't think I'm going to go anywhere that you haven't talked about. We're all adults here. But like in regards to sexual intimacy with women, I was always kind of more like this creative seeking force for my own satisfaction and not receptive to just receiving what I got and focusing that creativity on their own pleasure, really, in lots of ways. And it was created so much pain for the women that I was involved with, and then for myself as well, because eventually that mentality led to like beliefs that limited my performance really in lots of ways. So then being in this state of like healing and kind of getting clearing out karmic baggage to get to a place of equilibrium where I don't have good karma or bad karma sitting in the bank, where I'm just karma free. Like it's weird to evaluate it like that and then realize that that's an element that balance applies to as well, to where I don't focus on my pleasure in that. I focus on the other person and receive what's given to me, really. I don't know. It's just weird because I never really thought about it that way, I guess.
I think that sexual intimacy is something that we all really need to remember is more of like an energy transfer. You know? An energy transfer always happens. And so the way we enter into it matters a lot. It's interesting with how your chakras are either balanced or blocked or whatever it may be, that will kind of determine what kind of transfers do happen. Like when two really loving, heart-centered individuals get together, that intimacy can like, you know, that tantric thing can happen there, you know, because the doors are open. But when you're heart blocked, there's a lot of misuse of power that can go on, you know?
Kind of like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that sense of personal power. And that's probably why, you know, like you were saying, those issues came up, is because you didn't have that, like that balanced love. You weren't coming from that heart center. That's interesting. I don't think it's a gender thing either. I think men and women both do this, right?
Oh yeah, totally. At the concert I went to last night, when I was leaving, I heard this woman's talking about like somebody new she was dating, and her friend said, well, are they good in bed? And she's like, well, I'm satisfied. And the other woman goes, well, that doesn't mean that they're good. And I'm thinking, like, in a very practical sense, it's weird to hear women kind of be like, I won't even say in that man mentality, because the man's mentality is really like, if they get laid, it's good. You know what I mean?
Worse than men
In that
like
regard?
this? Oh my God, the things that women will say in a group. Sorry, ladies, I'm calling this out here, but yeah, we're way worse than men. Men are a little bit more private, believe it or not. I
used to be like the one
I have a lot of male
kiss and
friends that
tell.
talk in front of me, so you know, it's interesting. Yeah, most men say that. They'll just be, yeah, you know, I got her. Yeah, it was good. Or it's just very, you don't go into detail. Women will give you every single last detail. Like your ex-girlfriend's best friend knows all about everything about you. Trust me. Everything. She knows how you smell, what you do when you wake up. Like, it doesn't matter. We talk about it. It's awful. We shouldn't. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with people talking about it, but it's like weird to assume that for something that's so personal as physical intimacy, like it's not like what works in the bedroom with one woman really works in the bedroom for the next one, because they're very individualized in my experience. Like that was one of the hardest things. Yeah, that was one of the hardest things for me. It's like I'm using the manual that I had created in my head from the last girlfriend on the current one, and it's like they want to punch me for doing what I tried. Or like, no, not that way. It's counterclockwise, or like whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like it this way. Yeah. No, I mean, you shouldn't have to even think that way when that connection is there. There's no thinking at that point. You know, when the energy just flows properly, then it feels different than, what do I do now? You know, you don't, you don't go there when it's right.
That makes sense. It's just kind of weird to like think about. I'm sure that I've done similar things at some point, but it's like weird to think about somebody being in something where they're satisfied and healthy, and then their friend who maybe is subconsciously or consciously jealous of that connection that the other person has, needing to find some way to make them insecure or like question where they're at with something, I guess.
That's just people's own insecurities putting it on others a lot of times.
That makes sense.
Or their own experience clouding their judgment, making assumptions that they shouldn't about somebody else's life they know nothing about.
Oh, that's fair.
Friends have their opinions. And a lot of times, if, families, friends, they really can get in the way of allowing us to listen to our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
How many of us have been in a relationship where our family and friends hate them, but you're completely in love with them, and you say goodbye to them because all your friends and family hate them. I mean, that's not always the best idea. You should follow your heart there. I mean, or there's sometimes when your friends and family hate them for a very good reason. So
yeah,
but it can work both ways.
No, that's fair. Sorry for going off on that tangent. It's just something that came up.
Tangents.
It makes me think of like some kind of new like citrus fruit going to have a tangent. I'm in a weird mood today.
Weird moods are good moods.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess with the tangent and everything, I think we'll leave it with the new citrus fruit, the tangent. They'll be out in stores coming this fall. Just thank you, Erica, for taking the time to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Anything you want to say to close us out?
I don't think so. Just be well, everyone. Meditate today, every day.
Don't believe. Don't follow. Do not consume. Do not watch. Largely what I'm talking about here is reclaiming experience. This is what's been taken from us. It's a self-advancing, self-expanding, self-defining process, and it takes no prisoners.
The real world isn't a spiritual world, it isn't a material world, it isn't an empty world, it isn't a solid world. It's simply